Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video. I guess I have you starting a little bit in the middle here. Long story short, I went out shopping last night and I came home and the power was out. I guess it had went out about the time right after I had left apparently. So no power, so I went and put all the refrigerators on battery backup and I'll turn some of the lights on, but no charging for the electric vehicle, right? So um, the problem is that normally if I'm just staying at home, that's not going to be an issue. But one of the little ladies has, had an abscess and she needs to come down here and have antibiotics and surgery. And there was um, there was no opening. So she's on standby and I just needed to get her down here as quickly as possible. So suffice to say, no charging, and not really driving for efficiency. And then, of course, leaving the AC on most of the time for the little guy who's riding along, just because we're in the middle of a pretty epic heat wave here in California. So basically, now I'm also on standby waiting for her to have her surgery done. And I might as well do some shopping, but I'm also going to need to charge up, right? So like I said, no charging at home. I still have at least 100 more miles of driving that I need to do today, even though I'm staying relatively close to here because, like I said, I'm on standby. So anyway, I thought I would bring you along for this little ride along. Worst case scenario in EV ownership is you can't charge at home and you're relying 100% on the public charging infrastructure, which is still up even though the power is out at home. Thank you, PG&E. So anyway, I haven't really had any breakfast. I had a cup of cold brew coffee. I'm going to try to get some of that done, maybe some multitasking and maybe some shopping. So let's hit the road. All right, well, I'd say a quick stop here at Black Bear, but not really, almost an hour. But this is one of those things that I don't really think about, right? This is a 50 kilowatt charger. I'm only going to average maybe 40 kilowatt over the course of this session, but I'm already up to 72% battery. It's not really something I count, right? I stopped here for food, for coffee, for a meal, went out on the back patio, gave the little guy a treat while he was out there, so I was able to turn the car off while it was charging. There was a Ford Mustang Mach-E Uber driver here when I showed up, plugged in. Auto charge worked just great. So both chargers here are working at this site in Willows at Black Bear Diner. Go in, grab yourself a meal. Like I said, give your little doggy a treat. I just turned the AC off. I have another 2 hours before I need to call the vet to get an update. So I'm not just going to sit around, right, like doing nothing. I'm going to do some shopping, driving around before I get that update. Like I said, I could go home. I don't even know if the power's back on, right? It's not like I could go home and plug in. So charging past 70% is just fine here. But anyway, it's already getting hot. Yeah, I mean, it's saying 80 degrees, but it feels warmer than that. So I'm going to kick the AC back on, go end the charging session, and then let's hit the road. All right, so quick shopping trip done. I parked in one of the loneliest trees in the parking lot out in the shade. So even though I had, doggy mode on for the little guy, I like to try to park in the shade when, know it's starting to get warmer. The Bolt EV is very good about just staying on for an hour. So it's really not much of a concern. I'm never going to leave, my doggy in the car for even close to that, right? So even at the restaurant when I went in and ate, that was a 50-minute stop, and he spent most of that time in the patio section of the restaurant with me. So here, I just did some shopping, grabbed some groceries. Unfortunately, because I don't know what the timetable is remaining, I couldn't get anything frozen. So just put some stuff in the cooler, non-perishable stuff, things that I needed to grab from the store, and just trying to maximize this trip, So at this point, I'm going to start heading back, and I need to call the vet to see if I can pick them up. But we're doing fine, with range. We're still well over 50% battery. I think 6% is going to climate, and that's, like I said, in the Bolt EV's pseudo doggy mode. So I'm not really inconvenienced at all. Basically, my inconvenience was making a stop for a hot meal that I couldn't have prepared at home even if I wanted to right now with the power outage. And so I'm not really out anything. This is sort of an emergency trip, and so far, like I said, just doing the normal errands that I would be doing while relying on the public charging infrastructure can be fairly seamless. It's just not, you just have to accept that you don't have the same options and freedoms that you do when you charge at home, and you start every day with a full battery. So I'm not going to take up this highly coveted parking spot for too much longer, and plus I'm going to turn the AC back on. Even in the shade, it's almost 90 degrees right now. So let's start heading back. All right, well, the vet said to call them for an update around 1:30. So I decided to do a quick little stop here in the park, Ord Bend, near the river, boat launch. There's a picnic area. It's a nice spot, usually not too busy. And then again, today is a Monday, so it's especially really not that busy. But I did get an update from the vet, and it sounds like they're going to actually have to do surgery, and it's going to probably be another 3 hours before I can pick her up. So that leaves me with a few different options of things to do, because like I said, I don't want to go all the way back home again and then come back. That's an hour and a half of driving just there. And then, so what am I going to do at home for an hour, right? Like an hour and a half, and then come back down again and not even know if I can charge. That's the other problem, is where I live up there, if the power is still out, even when I got my car, that was the whole idea is, when I first got my Bolt EV, there were a total of 5 chargers within 100 miles, 5 sites within 100 miles. There were 2 supercharger sites, which of course can't use and still can't use. And then there were 3 public charging sites within 100 miles radius, and they were all 3 24 kilowatts. So even when I first got my Bolt EV 7.5 years ago, I knew that was an issue. And so being up in the middle of nowhere, we've seen the infrastructure grow, but it hasn't grown enough to, just willy-nilly drive off into the middle of nowhere without, a full battery or knowing where you're going to charge. So there's still, you have to be cognizant of that. But like I said, I have almost 3 hours to kill, so that, changes things up a little bit. So I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm going to hit the road now. So stick around. We're here in Red Bluff, and you could actually see there's a few more orange dots that go north from here. I mean, truthfully though, yeah, you see all the orange dots down there. ChargePoint has this EV corridor fairly well covered. I wanted to stop here. This is well short of Redding, where I was going to go up and do a little bit more shopping while I waited for the surgery to be done. And I stopped here, one, because I like this site if it's just a charging stop just off the freeway. There is food options and things like that I'm not going to use right now. But I wanted to top up a little bit just because I've heard rumors that things in Redding aren't going so great right now with some of the chargers. Electrify America is updating their Anderson site, and some of the charge points in Redding aren't doing so well. But I wanted to stop by here just because this Grid Synergy storage, the green charge, I just wanted to call this out again because I think it got missed by a lot of people, that this site actually has battery backup, and a lot of different charging providers are using battery backup systems, and it hasn't gotten that much acknowledgement. Maybe if it's been like the Tesla power packs or whatever at the sites, they talk about it, but just regular power or regular battery backups for these other charging providers, they don't really talk about it too much. And so You know, EVgo has experimented with used BMW i3 batteries at their Union City. You know, I've showcased a few of them. The Shell Recharge, I think it's Mechanicsville. I can't remember where it is. Over on the other side of the mountains, where they had a different LFP, I believe it was, battery backup. So anyway, I just wanted to come here, call this out, note that they do have grid tie energy storage to sort of offset the peak draws that you see over here on these three CPE 250s. So anyway, I'm gonna get back into the car. It's like 100 degrees right now, it's crazy. All right, well, we're getting ready to leave. Trying to see exactly how much time we've been here. It hasn't been that long, but I'm only charging to about 50%. I did check on all of the sort of surrounding Reading chargers, and there are a few available, mostly ChargePoint, but it looks like most of the chargers either are down or slow or just not available, or so in addition to Electrify America taking their site down in Anderson for upgrades, which it needed, it was still running the Gen 1 Signet units. You know, there isn't a whole lot of other infrastructure in Reading just yet that's capable of supporting. So I'm going to turn the AC back on again and you know, get ready to hit the road. I don't want to be gone for too long, too far away from the vet. I need to be back there in about an hour and 45 minutes. So let's hit the road. So here we are. These are the new units in Anderson. They're not open yet, but yeah, very nice, very nice. Like I said, these were the original Gen 1 Signets. Looks like they switched them out. These are the BTC Power ones, so we can expect the screens to die in about 3 weeks, I think, from now. You know, and of course, this is a site that I think people were curious about because it has the Tesla power packs. But that shouldn't really be a surprise for anyone because, you know, Electrify America was very clear that that's what they were doing, is they were adding battery backups to places like California, where things are really expensive. But my only real criticism with these are balanced chargers. They're able to balance the power, and I realize there would be some additional, maybe some permitting or whatnot required. But this was originally two 350 kilowatt and two 150 kilowatt. If you do the math, and I'm not no math genius, if you have 4 split power, basically 150 per stall, that leaves another 300 kilowatt of power that would be available to this site. They could, in my opinion, they should have added another unit here and another unit on the other side of where, you know, where my Bolt EV is, because technically every time they upgrade to these new balanced power units, without adding any power to the site, they should be able to double up and add 2 more stalls. And I think having 6 stalls at this location would be super important. It's just off the freeway. There is a ton of stuff here. This is a really popular site. A really popular stop, and one of the reasons, in the freeways just over there, one of the reasons I said everything was so haywire in Reading too is because this site is down, and the people who only know how to travel with Electrify America are struggling, because when this site is down, Northern California is cut off, right? Northern California, big thunderstorm. So anyway, I wanted to do just a quick stop. BTC Power, 4 balanced power units. They're pulling the CHAdeMO, unfortunately. Vittles is across the street with a nice CHAdeMO connection, so there's always that option too. So anyway, I'm gonna hit the road. It's 103. Yee. All right, so I decided to just do a quick stop here at Sundial Bridge. I wanted to confirm for myself, yeah, 2 of the 4 ChargePoint Express Plus or Express units, the CPE 250s, they are down. This site has never been the same since a Rivian driver ran over one of the dispensers, and that one never came back online, and they've had trouble, it looks like, just getting these back in working order. So, and in fact, maybe this is the one that went out. I don't know. It's pretty scuffed, but But yeah, so there are 4 units here, and only 2 of them are working, which doesn't coincide well with the other Electrify America site, going down. And then I don't know if it's the heat. I don't think it's my battery, right? My battery is fine, but right now it's only outputting like 24 kilowatt too. So it's possible that even though there are 4 units here, um, 2 of them are working and only 1 of them is maybe working at full speed. So actually I see a Bolt EV owner lining up. I'm going to go ahead and take off. I'm going to be juicing up other places. I just wanted to check this place out. So let's hit the road. With the deuce, another Bolt EV. EVs are invading Northern California, but it's getting too hot to just try and find the only shady parking spot. 104, yeah, and yeah, time to hit the road. All right, well, I guess when it rains, it pours. So just a lowdown on what happened is, and I'm sorry if the air conditioning is on, I'm not gonna turn it off right now. My battery was replaced, and it seems like I haven't driven it this low before, and it seems like there was some miscommunication in the programming. Because what ended up happening is I was watching the range estimator as I was driving, and I literally went from 20% to 15% to low in about 5 miles. So if you think about that, how are you using 15% basically of your battery capacity in just 5 miles? So something was definitely off on the calibrations leading into it. And I wasn't too worried because where I needed to pick up the little lady, the vet, there are EVgo chargers here about a mile away, right? The problem is this site has been down and insert out, out for maintenance basically. Only one of these DC fast chargers is working, and I was lucky enough to get here, and nobody else is here. And I'm using the one that's working. Auto charge worked right away. The problem is the vet just called me, and now I need to turn around. This is already after their closing hours. I need to turn around because they forgot to include a collar, and so they want to make sure that she doesn't chew on a really gnarly surgery wound. So now I have to flip around, leave here with like 5% battery, and then just hope that this charger is up and running again when I come back and there's nobody here, which kind of sucks because I need to charge for about 15 minutes to get home, and I really don't want to have to put her through that. And if I'm talking longer than necessary, it's because I'm just trying to delay. I said it would take me about 5 minutes to get back to the office. That was a bit of a fudge, but they really needed to get me the collar before I left. So anyway, I'm gonna have to unplug, head back, and then at least now I know I have enough range to get back here at least. That wasn't not going according to plans. All right, so that was weird behavior, and I think I had seen reports of that this DC fast charger was shutting off at odd intervals, and it looked like it did hit right about 15 or 20 minutes and it turned off. I plugged it back in again and auto charge started right back up. So just maybe some sort of a weird issue. Luckily I had already grabbed my food from the restaurant, brought it out here. So we'll see how that goes, a Cobb salad. But I'm gonna walk him, and what I was gonna mention too is she is really beat up. So after that surgery, she's really in a lot of pain. And I have 2 routes I can go home where, I could take the shorter, more efficient route, but it's bumpier and curvier, and I don't want to put her through that. So I'm going to choose to stay here about 10 minutes longer than I really needed to, so that I can take the smoother, straighter road home. So hopefully that alleviates. She has to put up with 10 minutes longer sitting here, but hopefully it's a faster trip home, and it's a smoother ride, which is really, I want to make sure that she isn't getting bumped around too much, and it will give me a chance to give the little guy one last walk. So we'll get ready to head out in probably another 5 to 10 minutes. I'm guessing we'll be around 45% battery by the time we leave. All right, so there definitely is an issue with this station. It just shut down again. And unfortunately, with auto charge, it won't re-engage after it's stopped when it's plugged in. I mean, I think that's by design. But yeah, it means you have to pull the plug back in again, and then it will reactivate. So I don't know if it's a heating issue or just aging hardware, but given the location of this site, I would really suggest that EVgo, they've already plumbed for 2 additional conduits here, it looks like, for DC conduits. I think EVgo should maybe look at this station and say, hey, can we do one of those prefab 350 kilowatt deployments of Delta chargers or whatever, and just get those in here. This is a highway charging stop, providing a bunch of basically 200 kilowatt, 175 kilowatt charging stalls at a sit-down restaurant, literally an eighth of a mile from the freeway. I think that would be better for EVgo, even though we know that the Pilot on the other side of the freeway will eventually be getting their own deployment of GM Energy Delta 350 kilowatt. I think having, a half dozen 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers off of the same freeway exit, one on one side, one on the other, I don't think you can go wrong as a charging provider to do that. I know they'd likely need to up the power or maybe add some batteries or something like that to this site, but I think it would be well worth the upgrade for EVgo to do. But anyway, so as planned, we'll probably leave it about 40% or whenever this next session ends, and then we'll head out. And then also, I'm going to need to plug into maps because I saw kind of the fire brigade going off. I can't tell if they went on the freeway, went north, south, up in the mountains. It sounded like they went up in the hills towards Black Butte, which is one more reason I wouldn't be able to take the shorter route, but bumpier, right? So anyway, let's get ready to head out. All right, well, we made it home. 400, well, not quite 412 miles. Like I said, I had done some driving the day before, so probably around 350-ish miles, something like that. No, maybe a little bit more, but or a little bit less, maybe 330, 340 miles. And when I got home, power was back on by the time we got home. This is much later, just closing out the video. It's nice to see I got to plug right back in again. Power was on, so I'll be able to recharge like normal at home, like a normal person. Yeah, but I had to take care of the cat. She's doing okay, but pretty gnarly surgery, and then I'm gonna have to go back again next week to see if they have a follow-up surgery that they're gonna need to do. But she's okay, and then or at least for now. But I have to get her antibiotics and all of that, so that's gonna be a pain. But as far as the EV stuff is concerned, like I said, this was just sort of a worst case scenario, an emergency vet trip that I couldn't really change on a day when our public utility just happened to turn off the power. So it looks like the power did come back on again about 12:30. So I actually could have come back home again, but like I said, that's that sort of a risk. And to be brutally honest, I just kind of wanted to test things out a little bit because I had that 3-hour window where I've heard, a lot of issues that people are experiencing with the charging in Northern California. And we did see it, right? Half the ChargePoint chargers were down at one location. The Electrify America, that sort of connecting spot in Anderson, like I said, it's basically from Willows to Wairika, I think. A lot of EVs even if you charged to 100% in Willows, would struggle to make it to Wairika. So if you're fixated on Electrify America, which a lot of people are, Anderson being down basically, like I said, shuts off the North State to you traveling I-5. And in fact, when I was at Sundial Bridge, where the charge point had 2 chargers down, the Bolt EV owner, who, I left probably earlier than I should have. Yes, it was only charging at 24 kilowatts, so I would have had to stay longer than I intended. But I did give up my spot earlier. He said he had waited at the Walmart Electrify America for 2 hours to access a charger. Now, the site wasn't full when I drove by it returning home. So, I think he maybe just got caught in a surge. And I said, well, 2 hours, that's a long time. Did you check the Black Bear across the street? And he said, the Black Bear has chargers. And, he's driving a Bolt EV. He loses very little by using a 50 kilowatt charger. And then, I didn't even, it was just a passing comment. I didn't even get into the fact that I just checked the Willows rest area northbound Caltrans charger. It's working. And like I said, there were, EVgo legitimately saved my bacon on this trip because, like I said, the Bolt EV had a really weird issue with that lower end of the battery, sort of calculating it. Like right now, I'm looking at my display with 15% battery, and it's saying that my minimum miles are like 18. So it's really struggling, I think, to calculate some of the energy that's available. And just that behavior, watching the trend bar and then losing basically 3 bars of energy in maybe 5 miles of freeway driving is sort of an unheard of, at least in my experience. And I did want to talk about this a little bit because I feel like someone with less Bolt EV experience, I think, would have been really caught off guard by this. Someone who was driving in an area that they're unfamiliar with would have been, potentially stranded by this. So yeah, I think that, I mean, it's a serious issue in terms of that lower end battery energy range estimation programming, because it's not behavior that I've seen before in the previous 160,000 miles that I drove on the original battery. And so seeing it now, I could see circumstances where you could get people stranded, right? Losing 15% on your DIC in a matter of like 5 miles. That's unheard of bad efficiency, right? Like there's no way that's a legitimate and accurate number and estimate. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions about what I saw on the trip, the behavior with the Bolt EV's battery pack, and I'll keep an eye out. There's a lot of things I need to keep an eye out on, and I'll report in the future. But thank you for watching.